My name is Tomasz and you're watching Casual DIY channel. In today's video, I'm re-reviewing or rechecking two blades that I've been using for almost 2 years. A Saxton blade and a Freud blade. Both of them are 40 teeth. Check out the test. Right then, so as I mentioned, I've been using both of them for quite a while now. And I did have a break, so in those 2 years, probably about 6 months without any work. But also I am a DIYer, you know, they don't run for hours upon hours upon hours. It's just a normal DIYer's usage. However, I think they had a fair amount of use over the past 2 years. And I believe now is the time to actually check them out again and see which one is performing better than the other, if they are. And remember, the Saxton blade is a lot cheaper than the Freud blade, okay? Now, what type of materials I have been mainly using these two blades for? Well, I do work with a lot of pine, a lot of ash, which is hardwood, and a lot of resin blanks as well. So they did have a fair amount of really hard plastic, i.e. resin, to actually cut through as well. On top of that, I've been using them to cut through some stabilized woods as well, mainly hardwoods. So they are becoming very, very hard when infused with resin. So that is very hard to cut through, and they've been used to do that. And most recently they had to tackle a lot of third grade pine, and I do mean a lot. So I think now it's the time to have a look which one is better at this stage over time, and then we can discuss, you know, if paying a little bit more for Freud is better or just sticking with the Saxton blade is just fine. Now, the tools I'm going to be using for this test is the Rage 5S table saw, and I've got an Evolution miter saw as well. Before we actually start, I want to show you the faces of these blades after nearly 2 years of usage. First of all, the Freud blade. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. Obviously, you've got the normal marks, you would get a bit of dirt, but the blades themselves, they are actually very, very clean, and there's hardly any marks on them. And in recent time, in the last few weeks, it has been doing the same job as my Saxton blade. So check out the Saxton blade now. As you can see, you know, the paint is coming off, not a big deal. However, look at the teeth. You know, there's a lot of that sawdust from that third grade pine still in between the teeth. Not sure how that's going to affect anything, but I am not going to clean this out, as I want to show you both of them as they are, no cleaning, no anything. So I'm going to put in the Saxton blade first, and we'll do some test cuts. First of all, I'm going to be using a melamine board. So it's a chipboard with this coating. It's really easy to chip the edges with any blades, so it will be interesting to see how the blades will cope with that. Standard, I've got some plywood as well. This is 2 pieces sandwiched together, 2 18mm pieces, so we'll see how they're gonna cope with that. And I've got 2 pieces of ash, hardwood. Okay, so we'll see how they're going to perform with all that. Now, in either of my saw, I'm not going to be using any zero clearance plates, anything like that. So it will be box standard, normal cuts. Okay, I'm going to do all the cuts on my table saw for the Saxton blade. Then I'm going to change it to my Freud blade. We'll move on to my miter saw to do the cross cuts. And at the end, we'll compare the results. And now it's time to swap out for the Freud blade. when changing a blade on any of your machines, always make sure your machine is unplugged. Okay, now it's time to move on to the miter saw. First again, we'll do the Saxton blade. We'll do again plywood, hardwood and the laminated chipboard. Time for the Freud blade. Again, same type of cuts. Plywood, hardwood and melamine board. Now the test I'm doing, by all means, it's not a scientific approach or anything like that. It's just a quick example of how the blades perform after some time of use. In my case, about 2 years, give or take. Okay, so all the cuts are now done. Let's have a look at the results. Right then, first of all, we're gonna go with the cuts that were made on the table saw. This is the laminated board. At the bottom, you've got Freud. At the top, you've got Saxton. So I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit. So first of all, we've got at the bottom the Freud, and I have to say it's basically perfect. Okay, there's hardly any chip out. I would actually say there is no chip out at all on the line of cut. Okay, whereas the Saxton does have a bit of chip out on the whole length of the cut. So in this case, for sure, Freud is a lot better. Let's flip it over and see what's at the back. Okay, in this case, as you can see, it's heavy chip out with both of the blades. So, you know, zero clearance plate would make a massive difference in this case. But as you can see, the chip out in this case on the reverse is more or less the same. I would actually say the Saxton one is slightly higher. Next, we've got the plywood. Again, Saxton on the top, Freud at the bottom. And I hope you're going to be able to see it. At the top of the cut, absolutely perfect cut, no chip out at all. With the Saxton, it's actually the same situation, very nice and clean cut, no tear out at all. Let's flip it over. And it's actually not bad at all. Can't see any major tear out. There was just a hole pre-drilled, so ignore that. But all in all, on the reverse side, is actually in both cases very good. No major tear out in both cases. Now it's time for the hardwood. Again, Freud and Saxton. Hope you're going to be able to see it. And again, it's really nice and crisp cut. No tear out. No issues at all. And the reverse side is also very good. Nice and clean. No issues. Saxton, same results from the top of the cut. No issues at all, no tear out. On the other side, same situation like with Freud. However, let's have a look on the inside cut if there are any marks of burn or anything like that. Freud, Saxton. As you can see with the Saxton, there's a bit of a mark left by the blade, some scratches on this side, and you can clearly actually see where the blade went, so there are some scratches as well, so they are clear visible marks left after the blade. Let's have a look at the Freud. Slight mark over here. You can see the marks as well, so I would actually say a bit more heavier on this side. So I have to say results again more or less the same. You know, I can't see with a naked eye any major differences with those. Right, time for some crosscuts. I did try to do them in the same way, so I've skimmed the front and then just plunged and went through, and as you can see where I skimmed at the top with the Freud, that's the Freud, absolutely nice and clean. However, when you then plunge the cut and just pull the saw, you've got some noticeable tear out. And it's the same situation with the Saxton blade, although I think the tear out starts a little bit earlier than with the Freud. And I have to say the tear out is slightly larger on the Saxton one than the Freud. Let's have a look on the reverse. Well, that's a bit of a surprise. So on the reverse, the Saxton has got some chip out, tear out just over here. Clean cut for the rest of the part. However, with the Freud, it's actually nice and clean, just a tiny bit over here, but it's a really nice and clean cut. So that's quite interesting. Now time for the hardwood, again Saxton on top. And I have to say there's no issues, slight tear out with the Freud blade at the back end of the cut. On the reverse, no issues at all. Saxton, no issues, nice and clean cut on the whole length. And on the reverse actually we do have a bit of tear out just over here. On the inside, again, slight markings, however, not too bad, no burning. And actually, with the Freud, the marks are a little bit more visible, more pronounced than on the Saxton blade. And finally, the plywood, we actually went cross the grain, if you wish. Okay, so that's the Freud one. There is a bit of a tear out, but it's absolutely minimal, nothing major. On the reverse is actually a very nice and crisp cut. Ignore that, that was just left over from glue. So yeah, that's actually quite a good result. With the Saxton, unfortunately, you can see the tear out. It's quite heavy at the front, but at the back, it's actually nice and clean cut. No tear out at all. Right, so you've seen the results, my comments to them, and it's clear that the Freud blade is better. However, is it better that much? Definitely not. Okay, so currently on Amazon, the Saxton blade you can get for about 16-17 British pounds, whereas the Freud will take you 40 British pounds out of your pocket. So more than double the price of the Saxton blade. And using both of them for, you know, more or less 2 years, the difference in the quality of cuts is not that great. So is it actually worth paying more for the Freud blade, where the Saxton blade actually delivers very, very similar results? I just want to point out, I am not being paid by either of the companies to make this video. I'm not sponsored. I've bought these blades for my own money, just to be clear, guys, okay? These are my own personal findings with them, which I wanted to share with you as well. As you know, money nowadays is hard to come by, and month by month is actually worth less. So getting the best deal with a blade, I think, is quite important. And to me, looking at the results at this moment in time, for sure, the Saxton blade is actually a winner. Yes, the Freud will give you slightly better performance, slightly better quality cuts even after long time of usage. However, the difference in that is not as great. Plus, if you've got some evolution saws like I do, I've got the miter saw, I've got the table saw. The Saxton blades actually come with the same bore hole, 25.4 millimeters, whereas for the Freud, I would have to get a separate reducing ring. So that's one of the benefits of the Saxton blades for me personally. I also want to, in the future, present you 3 more blades. 80 teeth blade from Abrax. I've got 72 teeth from Trend and 80 teeth from Saxton, and I want to share with you. They're all brand new blades, so again I would do the similar test as I did with the Freud and the Saxton, the 40 teeth, where I'll do the initial video. I'm going to show you the results. I'll probably do it in a couple of weeks time so you can have a look. Obviously these blades are more for fine work, cross cuts, anything like that. So we'll see how they go. And again, in a year's time, maybe I'll do a re-review of those to show you if there is any difference between the quality of cuts, and obviously we'll compare the prices as well. Now, if you're in a market of actually picking up blades, I'm going to link to both of these to Amazon down below in the description of this video, so you can go and have a look and you know, pick the best that's suited for your needs. However, for today guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on my next video. Take care.